Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News for You, and a message for anyone watching at home: get out of my house. In the news this week, as part of a package of welfare reforms, the Labour government announces a new mobility scheme for pensioners. Tension mounts for Michael Howard's image makers as they await the results of his hair transplant. And in Bombay, Western passengers react badly to the new caterers on Indian Airlines. On Ian Hislop's team, a man who this week appeared on Channel 5's leading comedy show. He then went home and watched himself on video, thereby doubling their viewing figures at a stroke. Dominic, Holland. And with Paul Merton tonight is a writer, freethinker and radical intellectual who redefined the nature of feminism and the role of women in society, and she makes a smashing apple crumble as well. Germaine, Greer. Round one features those tiny news stories hidden away on the inside pages of the tabloids, namely the major political events of the week. Paul and Germaine.
Well, that's obviously Kenneth Clark. Kenneth Clark again. That's very good. How did he get trained as Kenneth Clark again? It's Kenneth Clark. The emergency exits are there.
That was Stephen Dorrell, who has decided to give up his bid for the leadership of the opposition and become instead the altar boy to the incredible bursting man.
That's the official political term, is it? Altar boy.
And opposite him we have Dimple Hague, and Lord Parkinson must be his altar boy.
And do you know how Lord Parkinson described William Hague this week?
Very attractive.
No, it wasn't. He described him as one of us.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I would regard it as libelous if certain parties don't accept me.
I thought it was very selfless of Dorrell to give up his leadership bid on the grounds that no one was going to vote for him.
I think it's got Ken Clark. I think I'd like to see him do it because he's a family man. He goes over with his mum.
Anyone thinking he was young, sylph-like, slim and raven-haired, for heaven's sakes? I think
Quite.
That's like me, yeah? Not Ian.
No. I mean the incredible bursting Clark.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's a big lad.
Yes, God bless him. Yes, I think you've got all the points there. It is the Tory leadership battle, and the turn it took this week as Stephen Dorrell pulled out of the race and threw his weight behind Kenneth Clark. Lucky it wasn't the other way around. If elected as Tory leader, William Hague will actually relish a long spell in opposition, as it will give him time to finish his A-levels. Ian and Dominic, this week's instalment.
That's
Sherry Blair.
This is an impromptu classroom, and that's Blair trying out his ears in a wind tunnel.
Put it all together.
And you've got Things Can Only Get Better.
It's the party, isn't it?
It's New Labour.
It's Jimmy Somerville doing Dee Green.
Sherry's going to have a party in the garden, barbecue for some kids.
Isn't this a reference, or am I jumping down, a reference to the fact that on budget day they're going to have a homework class in the garden at 10, 11, or whichever number they live in, Downing Street?
Yes.
I think I have arithmetic at the party, yeah? Could that be something like having a barbecue and saying, you've got 10 sausages, if John Prescott turns up, how many have we got?
I don't think they'd commit themselves to a figure, not at this stage. They're only going to have to do homework now in their holidays. They're all going to school for 6 weeks to learn how to read and write, starting at age 14, I believe, in most schools.
Yes. For pupils with 2 years or more deficiency in reading ability. And have you read where we come in the league tables, English kids, all around the world? We're almost the worst at maths. Half the kids asked couldn't work out how many quarters there are in 5.
Right, let's move on then.
How many quarters in 5 what? Like 5 oranges or 5 Volkswagens? I mean, what you know?
The same number, doesn't matter whether it's an orange or a Volkswagen.
Oh, try telling that to the
Volkswagen.
Automobile Association. Someday get a phone call out and there's an orange broken down on the M1. He's telling people at home there's no difference between an orange and a Volkswagen.
Well, unless it was an orange and Volkswagen, I suppose that would be the other.
Beg your pardon?
I didn't hear what I said. The government is now introducing new summer schools where 11-year-old children from the inner cities will be taught the 3 R's, reading, writing and ram raiding.
That's 4 R's.
And Paul and Germaine.
Oh, yes, this is the Camelot bosses, isn't it? On their way.
Tenors.
Yes.
Chris Smith, that's Chris Smith. This is about the carpeting of the Camelot bosses over their huge pay rise, bonus, gift, theft. What was it? They kept saying, well, it's not going to happen again. We only took it once or something.
2 million bonus they had between them, and one of them's salary went up to 600,000. And this was in the year where they were actually making less profit and they were giving less money to charity. So they thought, oh, I expect we deserve a bonus then.
And actually, the bosses themselves have been buying tickets, and not one of them has even won a tenner. In fact, they're really pissed off about it.
In fact, the one who gave himself the largest rise was David Rigg, who gave himself a rise of 90%.
It's rather amusing. He should be called Rig, isn't it? Running a lottery in which he always wins.
Yeah. Although to his credit, he has said that he's not going to change his life and he's going to stay with his old job. What would you do about it, Germaine, if you were Prime Minister? Because you went on a programme called If I Was Prime Minister, didn't you, recently?
Yes, I'm afraid that I think I would run a different sort of lottery if I was Prime Minister. It's a good thing I'm not, because I think what you would do is you would buy a lottery ticket and the prize would go to the charity of your choice and not to you see. It would actually prove that we are all selfless, wonderful
You'd be
people.
gutted though, wouldn't you?
So I think it'd be...
Did you advocate the sterilisation of men on that programme?
I can't remember, but I...
You can't remember?
But I should
I remember.
I should have. The thing is, you wouldn't have anything to worry about. We'd take lovely, fresh sperm from nice young men.
What,
and
you
then
personally?
No. We'd have a
I
whole
would find that
army of
quite
health
worrying.
workers doing it.
Would you have it delivered to your house like milk?
No, it would be in the government sperm bank. And in order to get access to it, to have children, you'd have to show that you were a decent chap. And you would spend more than 2 minutes a week with your
Why, if
children.
you were a
you had
decent
it.
chap, would you want someone else's sperm?
It's your sperm.
I know,
You can
I'm
only
being
get
rather
your sperm
old-fashioned.
back.
Oh, I see.
You can only get your sperm back if you show up with, you know, a good employment record and stuff, and then they give you some. Then you go find a
I
woman
don't know if
who's
I ever told you,
interested.
Germaine, but one can get one's own sperm.
But the whole point is that when I'm Queen of the Universe, you won't be able to see.
Right.
Because you see, one of the things everybody knows that the sperm count is falling dramatically, even as you sit there looking at me, and your sperm count is going down.
As I look at you, Germaine, it's down to 0.
Are you sure?
And finally in this round, Ian and Dominic. Time's up.
That's Hong Kong.
Is it? That's good.
Oh, there's matey. Hello, I declare this colony closed. That's sort of synchronised bayoneting. It's the handover of Hong Kong.
It is, yes.
It's about to turn into a farce. Because, well, in the final ceremony, it's meant to be Britain goes out in style with flags lowered and Charles on Britannia heading into the distance. But the Chinese want to bring in their own people and have a ceremony which basically says, goodbye, get out, we are the masters now. And Blair doesn't know whether to go or not. So the whole thing could be incredibly embarrassing.
Yes, and almost certainly will.
And there was that thing earlier with all those people rather inconsiderately had those candles remembering Tiananmen Square, and we're meant to forget that and go forward in tanks, probably.
And Robin Cook will be going on behalf of the Labour government.
I hope he shaves. You know, Robin?
Hmm.
You know, because his foreign secretary's got ginger beard, you know.
Very Chinese of you to object to facial
If
hair.
you've got red hair, you don't grow more hair than you need, do you, really?
It's the impending handover of Hong Kong. The Labour government are unhappy with the way the handover is being managed. In fact, Robin Cook's only meeting the Chinese because he wants to know what it's like to tower over everyone at a photo call. And at the end of that round, the position is that both teams have as many points as there are pretty Spice Girls, being as it is 4-all. For round 2 this week, we turn once again to the steamy, pun-soaked world of tabloid headlines, one each to relish and regurgitate in comprehensible form, Ian and Dominic. Ups and gowns of a princess.
That's about Princess Diana, who's selling off a load of her dresses for charity.
How many dresses is she selling?
19.
Oh, more than that.
Oh, really? What, just Tuesdays, then?
79 dresses, although there are 80 lots. Why is that?
Because one dress is in 2 bits. It's a midriff showing halter bikini dress. Designed by Alexander McQueen, I think.
The reason is because there's no number 13. She won't allow there to be a number 13
Oh,
lot.
the 13th dress.
Because she can't add up. And whose idea was it?
Hers.
No, someone in the family. Well, I mean, she said...
Oh, it was Will's.
It was Will, I assume it's her son and not any other Will.
He
that
can't fit
she's,
into it.
And why has Will been in the news recently as well?
He got in trouble at Eton because he didn't invite his parents to school on the usual grounds of children that it's very embarrassing having your parents there. Sort of exacerbated in his case, the whole world's media turn up to photograph them. So he invited his nanny instead and a few mates. Bunter Fortescue and Geoffrey Archer III Jr. They're all there at Eton, and they had a delightful picnic with Tiggy.
Tiggy.
Tiggy, Liggy, Wiggy.
Yes, you're right. This is the preview of Diana's charity auction in New York. And many of the dresses up for auction have hardly been used, particularly those she wore when she was entertaining James Hewitt. One of the most popular dresses is Lot 80, a satin and pearl ensemble, which Diana refers to as my Elvis dress, presumably because she often wore it whilst hunched over a toilet bowl. Paul and Germaine, your absurd claim is England's green, unpleasant land.
This is the Australian guidebook to England that's just come out.
Which says that London is smoggy and disgusting, filthy, unbearable, that English people speak unintelligible dialects and don't wash, that the Lake District is okay. And I reckon the person who compiled it must have got laid in Cardiff, because they put in a good word for Cardiff. But they were very hard on commentary, must have drawn a blank in commentary, I think.
Would you agree with that as an Australian? Are our accents impenetrable? Did you understand what I said?
Australians find New Zealanders' accents very funny, don't they?
Soft and sucked, wouldn't you?
I beg your pardon?
They haven't got a vowel to their names,
Haven't
New
they?
Zealanders. No, they say fifth and sixth when they mean fifth and sixth.
They're good on countdown.
But did you see the list of things that you're supposed to pack, apparently, if you come to this country, which is waterproof jacket, medical kit, neck pouch, thongs for shared bathrooms.
That's so you won't get verrucas. Where other people's verruca-y feet have been walking, you keep your thongs on.
Oh, you mean thongs for your feet?
Where do you usually get a verruca?
they also had a rather strange way of telling where you were in the United Kingdom. You read that? On the strength of tea.
Oh, that's news to me.
Yeah, the tea gets stronger apparently as you go north.
That'd be right.
Is it?
Yeah, that'd be
Depends when
right.
you take the bag out. If you put it in London and drove to Leeds, by the time you got there, it'd be very strong.
In any tour of England, the guide suggests missing Coventry, which it calls a dismal city of car parks, ring roads and windswept shopping precincts. Well, perhaps if some German visitors had missed it in 1940, it might be slightly more scenic. Which treacherous thoughts mark the end of this particular leg of the journey, and the current shock is that both teams, it would appear, seem determined to stick rigidly to 6. This being our last show of the series, we thought we'd make round 3 our odd one out round so that it conformed to every other show we've ever done. One question per team. Paul and Germaine. Jim Fix. Bohemil Scholl.
What?
Alfred Nobel. And Louis XVI.
But I think it's got something to do with contradictions or ironies or something. Because isn't Jim Fix the man who advocated jogging?
Popularised jogging, yes, and then had a heart attack and died. He'd done too much of it.
Because he was jogging, probably.
Yeah.
And isn't Nobel, isn't he an armaments baron who set up a peace prize?
And that man invented Semtex.
How do you know that?
Bohemil Scholl.
Oh, did he? And then got blown
blew-
up.
yeah,
is that,
blew himself up
is that
with it.
him being blown? Oh, well, for heaven's sake.
You see that picture?
There's always trouble for somebody, isn't there?
So we've got 3 people. So who's the...
Oh, well, you see, if Jim Fix died because his obsession was jogging, then the Semtex guy, you could say, well, his obsession was inventing Semtex, so that killed him. Louis the, what was it, 16th, 15th? I'm always
16th.
16th. I can never tell the difference between him and the 15th and the 17th one.
Isn't he the one who said, l'état c'est moi? And then the état went and beheaded him. So he sort of overdid
Yes, that's
it
exactly
as well.
what
I think
happened.
that was Louis the XIV, the Sun King.
No, it wasn't.
Said l'état
Oh, it said
c'est moi.
l'état c'est moi. You're probably right. So
it
he
was.
said,
I
après
hate
moi
to
le
correct you.
déluge.
After you had a go at
Excuse me,
those
but
students.
what is everybody talking about?
Well, what did he say then? I mean, did he say après moi le déluge? Is that what he said?
That was Noah.
No, I wasn't French.
Alfred Nobel's the odd one out.
Why?
Because he is. Because he didn't die of, he didn't blow himself up with dynamite.
He died a natural death.
I think it's Louis the XVI. Is the odd one out.
Why?
They were all hoist by their own petard, except him. And the man who invented the guillotine was actually guillotined.
Is very nearly the right answer, but in fact Paul was nearer, so he's going to get the points, unfortunately. The answer is that they've all been killed by their own invention, with the exception of inventor of dynamite Alfred Nobel, who accidentally blew up his own brother instead.
Was that a party game?
This was at his home in Stockholm. Afterwards he went into the house and said, "Mum, the good news is I've cleared all the snow off the path." In 1789, Louis XVI was shown a prototype of the guillotine and suggested that a sharp, triangular-shaped steel blade would make it even more effective. Although when he himself stepped up to the scaffold in 1793, he said that on reflection a soft pillow-type mechanism would be better. Ian and Dominic, Paddy Ashdown, George Bush, David Hockney, and Biggles.
Paddy Ashdown had a career before being a politician as a boat person, special boat person, which involved stuff like that. George Bush was a flyer for the army, and David Hockney is an artist.
Is it got something to do with parachutes?
In what way?
In that George Bush had to bail out of a
finished.
plane during the war, and about 3 weeks ago he sort of, at the age of 72, had another parachute jump. Biggles, I would think he's a fictional character, but I suspect he was probably never ever shot down, so he never had to use a parachute. Paddy Ashdown's used a parachute. David Hockney might have been old enough for national service. He's been in a parachute. Biggles is the odd one out who's ever been in a parachute.
Is the wrong answer.
Okay. Is it
has
about...
been in a parachute. I distinctly remember, and Biggles pulls it off or something. Biggles...
I think you were fantasising.
Biggles crashed in Belgium. He bailed out with the parachute. His plane crashed, and he went and said to the farmer, "J'ai craché dans un champ de
You're
rognons."
doing it again! What is this language you're talking?
Which means I have spat in your field of kidneys. I distinctly remember that because I was doing French at the time. I was only little.
Is it about decorations?
In what way?
George Bush was decorated during the war for being married to Barbara. David Hockney, he has been employed by British Airways to decorate the livery on the bit at the back, the tail of a plane.
Oh yes, Hockney's gay. Commander Bigglesworth, well, later on in life, LG had his doubts.
Hockney's the odd one out. He's never jumped out of a plane. But he's going to decorate one. That's probably what the answer, isn't it?
Is the right answer.
Well, that's not fair.
Biggles was forced to jump out of a plane many times, most notably in the third Biggles book, Biggles Learns to Fly. This was the first really successful one, following the rather disappointing Biggles Stays at Home and Biggles Has an Early Night. The old-fashioned Biggles books, with their unashamed right-wing bigotry and hatred of Johnny Foreigner, have recently been updated. They're now called John Redwood, My Vision for Britain. Which party animal behaviour marks the end of this session, and the situation is that Ian and Dominic are swiftly losing their deposit with 8, whilst Paul and Germaine have a right and honourable 10. And so to the vulgar charms of our final missing words round, various priceless examples of the sub-editor's craft stolen from this week's papers, including some or alternatively none from this week's guest publication, the sumptuous Batteries International, bringing global battery markets into view for just £10, and I can't recommend it at all. So, frog Tories get what at polls?
Hammered.
Legless.
Chopped. And dipped in garlic.
A clue is that it's the Daily Star, so think Daily Star.
Shagged.
Frank. And it's in France, so...
Shagged.
Le Boot is how it phrases it. Next, what jokes Pope?
2 nuns go into a pub, right?
Yeah. I'm really Shirley Bassey.
Still alive at 77 was the joke, which he told to fellow Poles.
Well, that'd only be a joke if it wasn't true. If he was dead at 77, that would be a joke. Saying I'm still alive at 77 isn't a joke.
It's not a classic gag, certainly.
No. Not a great deal of imagination has gone into it.
No.
I'm the Pope. Cracked the Pope.
Next, Turkey to face what?
Bernard Matthews in live TV debate.
Is it Turkey to face France after massive earthquake?
Battery shortage. Battery famine. Battery drought.
Battery famine.
No, it is in fact early election. Next, what gives you back your life?
Divorce.
Other one. What about
Reincarnation. By recharging your Duralux battery with the new Deluxe D recharger, you can get some back life. I don't know. Something to do with batteries.
Something to do with batteries. It is in fact computer-based battery testing.
Yeah.
Which you were going to get eventually.
Eventually,
yes. Yeah. And finally, what tests on squid?
Arithmetic.
driving tests?
No, squid can't drive, can they? It's ridiculous.
Only because nobody's bothered to teach them. They can steer, they can do the clutch, they can brake accelerator, mobile phone, put a tape in, they don't have, you know. If anything, they're the ideal animal to drive. Really are, aren't they? We feel so superior about 2 legs and 2 arms, but look at the squid, he can do anything.
Yes, but it's not driving test, I have to tell you.
Well, don't you think it's about time we did teach them how to drive?
Oh, is it eye tests
Why?
for when they're driving?
I mean, you can't just let a squid out in charge of a car. You've got to make sure he can read a number plate.
Yeah.
Because their eyesight underwater, you can't sort of test them underwater. Where's that fish? Can you read the back of that fish from 20 yards? That's no good. You've got to, you know, if you're going to... It's madness to teach squids to drive cars. Really, isn't it? They've got no road sense.
I'm not against it in principle, obviously.
Well, you're not against what?
The idea of squids driving.
Why? It's madness. You can't driving cars.
Can I
The
just...
highway code, they'll just put 8 legs up and say, oi, toss spot, we're going to
Can I just apologise for saying driving test?
Yes, if you would.
You want to teach squids to drive, where you're bonkers in the nut, you are.
No, the answer is gene tests. An investigation into whether overfishing has affected a squid's genetic variability is fantastic.
You've got to go to that summer school, haven't you?
It's too late now. Which worthless homage to the art of guesswork brings a swift, if welcome end to the very last round. And the joyous news is that this week's perfect cock-ups are Ian and Dominic with 8, whilst this week's perfect pin-ups are Paul and Germaine with 13. That brings us to the end of this run of Have I Got News For You, which has seen Labour winning an election, England winning the cricket, and most incredible of all, Ian winning the series.
Thank you.
On which terminal note we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Dominic Holland, Paul Merton and Germaine Greer. And I leave you with news that in Surrey, after the son of a Camelot director questions his father's pay rise, he's banished in disgrace to the coal shed. In Berlin, Helmut Kohl's doctor queries his new 1 meal a day diet. And finally, in a shock announcement, Camelot directors admit they've been wrong all along and promise to donate all their bonuses to charity. Good night. Have I got